Hello, today we're going to do an example of project planning using Workday Adaptive Planning. My name is John Sindell. I'll be going through a demonstration. I'm a principal solution consultant. I've been with the company for 8 years now. When a lot of folks think of planning, they think it's a finance exercise and finance only. We at Workday understand that it's a collaborative effort extending the whole planning functionality throughout the entire organization, including sales and marketing, IT, operations, and HR, to name a few. What we're going to do in this demonstration is we're going to go through a couple different main components of project planning. This could be capacity, it could be project spend, scenario planning. You think about how many more versions are being done right now this year than this time last year. It's about 20 times more from our customer base. What if capabilities, making changes on the fly is a really key capability, and that's one of the things that we do essentially out of the box. We'll also get into capital planning and project modeling as well. So with that in mind, let's jump right in. I've logged in as an administrator, and my launch page here is a dashboard. With these dashboards, you can see different gauges, dials, graphs. You can use these for analysis, data entry, and so forth. As I look at this across my advanced technology part of the organization, division for AT, if you will, I can see quite a bit of information now. I will only be able to see what I've got rights to see. Being the administrator, I've got rights to everything, but I'll log in as another persona and we'll narrow that down. But we can see our revenues for this area, the expenses, all of our different rates, fringe, overhead, G&A. These are automatically calculated out, which is usually a very difficult exercise within other modeling tools, or if you do it within Excel, I'm sure you know you have to pull this information in from other sources, do all the calculations and so forth. That type of Excel gymnastics, we take all that away. We can also have different revenue trendings or expense trendings, as well as model out personnel, capacity, travel, and so forth. Now, before I go any further with that, let's take a quick look at some of the menu options. You have data entry sheets. And again, if you're doing this in a spreadsheet, this is going to look pretty familiar to you. You might have different tabs. Now, I've got a tab out here for project tracking. And what this tab is essentially doing for me, it's going out to a centralized database and pulling in the live information in like a spreadsheet type of format, but unlike a spreadsheet, it's going to a centralized database. So you're always looking at the latest and greatest data. As I look at this, I've got this Advanced Technology 1.3 project. It rolls up to this area. Project name is this. It's awarded versus a proposed project. Here's the start, here's the end. And right now it is a future versus a backlog versus a project that's already happening right now. And with this future, we get to run a win percentage, say, okay, we think it's 90%, so do the appropriate calculations. And then you start adding all the top level information on it. So here's the contract budget, the cost, the ETC, calculate out the EAC. You've got your classifications, what project type, is it time and materials, is it fixed fee? Again, you can have unlimited types of projects in here. Who's the owning organization? Everything I'm showing you here is essentially just an example. You can have as much or as few different fields in here as you'd like. And you'll also notice here I've got 3 different levels of approval. So maybe you need all these things to be approved before it actually hits the books, which is another really powerful capability with the what ifs. Well, what if we go forward with this project, but we back off on this, or we push this out 3 months and so forth. This is the screen in which you're defining all those components. Now in the background, if you right click, you've got a shortcut context sensitive menu that says, okay, well, let's take a look at the row details on this one, for example. It could span as many different years as you want. As we look at this, the project length that started on this date ends on that date. What that's basically telling me is that there's 34 live months, and we could push that out, bring that back. But here's the budget, the revenues, and all the other calculations come right down to your profitability. This is automatic, on the fly, and in real time. So with that in mind, now that's basically an example of the top level of it. Now, if we come down a little further, down to our project plan, I could pick whatever project I'd like to look at here. So in this case, maybe we'll go to the area under the division for Advanced Technology 1, and I'd like to look at that project, Advanced Technology 1.1. And what you see here is a data entry sheet in which we've got a lot of different calculations and so forth. And by the way, as we scroll back and forth, you'll see green and you'll see not green. Greens are actuals, not green are not actuals in this case. The not green numbers are my working budget or my plan or my forecast, and you can spin off another version, as I was telling you, with a click of a button, build it, copy it from another one, basically seed it that way, and then start making the changes, measuring out the gaps and seeing the true variances as you go through this. As we look at this, we got revenues of 442,683 here. You've got the ability to go ahead and add in a revenue adjustment. This is very common where, okay, we'll calculate out everything, but then maybe you want to do a topside adjustment to your revenues. You can do that to your expenses down here. But these are all calculated out, coming right down to your profitability, and again, so forth. Everything that you see is with a little notch is a calculation. So for example, if I'd like to see how I got that 77,820, there's a calculation. This is going out and grab my build information for my employees. If I right click on it and go into this Cell Explorer, this will show you physically where that 77,820 is coming in from. I can click on that, and here's my employees, their staff title, job level, what project they're on, to give you that value. You have full transparency into this information. If I want to see how we got these revenues, it's the same exact information, same exact idea. I can drill into that, drill into these values. So I've got my project costs plus the fees that go into it. Well, the project costs are going to be the following. We got labor, other direct costs, and then direct costs. If I want to see my labor, for example, here's all labor that's going into it. My current employees plus the consultants. There's that current employees of 77,820 saw a moment ago, but now we got $34,000 in consultants as well. This information is at your fingertips. Very powerful aspect of the application. Then we've got our unrecoverable, as well as the unrecoverable adjustment, the fees that are calculated with that, the margins, the profitability, and so forth. So this is all built in. Now, where is all that detail coming from? I'm looking at it from a very high level. Well, what I may want to do in a case like this is now take a look at it from an end user perspective and see exactly how those are coming in. So at this point, I've logged in as an end user. Now, the end user does not have rights to everything. So if I drop this down, I only see very few different departments, if you will, or very few different projects. If I go to my menu structure, the menu is much smaller than what I had before. I don't have the administrative capability. So how do you make this easy on an end user to go through this? You've got a couple different options. Now, I could come in here, and I showed you this dashboard when we first logged in, but from an end user perspective, I can come in here and take a look at, my personnel. Maybe I'll take a look at Advanced Technology 7. And within here, I've got a couple different options. So I can add personnel, or I can go into capacity. There's a few different options you have available to you, but instead of doing it that way, I can also come in here, and you saw this before. You saw the project tracking as well as the planning, but I've also got my specific data entry sheet. So I can start entering in my existing consultants here, my new consultants, travel, project subcontractors, and so forth. Add one by one by one. But what we also offer here with Workday Adaptive Planning is the ability to create what's called a process guide. So if I go into this engagement manager process guide, for example, what this is doing, it gives me a step-by-step as to what it thinks I should do, or what the powers that be believe that anyone that has rights to this process guide should be doing. So I could start off by going off to that dashboard, and I hit the dashboard right here in the process guide if need be. And if I'm done with that step, I can go ahead and flag that step as being done. I'm just going to allow the approvers and so forth to see, okay, for this process, this user has done this step. Now we're going to come down to our view resource summary. As I take a look at the summary here, I can collapse, I can expand out virtually anything I want here. But what we're doing here is we're taking a look at our existing staff, our to-be-determined staff, as well as our profitability. So if I expand out existing staff, here's all the different employees I've got and how many hours they're putting toward the specific project, as well as the to-be-determined. So if we come down here and take a look at adding personnel to a project, this is that same list of folks you just saw a moment ago. Now, if I want to go ahead and add another one, I can right-click and add a row. I can come up here and add a row. There's numerous ways to do this, but the whole point is make it easy on the end users. If I come down here and I change, for example, this employee ID from one employee to another, what that does, that automatically grabs the appropriate name, the partner that they roll up to, what business practice they're in, and so forth. So using attributes, you can automatically highlight these and make changes. So as you pop through, I can also change the different hours for this person. Now, there's only a certain amount of hours per month available, right? So you want to make sure you don't go over on the capacity for this person. But again, if I was to right-click on any one of these people, like Byron Blake, and go into my row details, anything I need to know about this person is here. So as I scroll across to where they're actually being utilized, right here, okay, we've got 152 hours, 148. we've got a choice between using the employee bill rate or the title bill rate. Those could change, and you can override those as needed. We'll go with the title bill rate in this one. There's 22 days in the month. If you multiply those 22 days by 8 working hours, you'll get the 176, which leaves that 148 that they're using, 28 hours left. So they're basically their capacity. The utilization is 81%. So you can have different, ranges here, saying, all right, if you're between this band and this band, you're good, you're bad, you're ugly type of thing. So you can go ahead and specify those and see people that might be on the verge of burnout type of thing. But with this type of information, you're getting down to build, you're getting down to cost, you're getting down to margins and so forth by employee, which is usually something that's very difficult to do out of the box here. So if I need to add an employee to a project, I can do that here. If I need to add a to be hired, I can also do that here as well. So coming down to my to be hireds, not as much information. I don't have employee IDs, obviously, but I can go specify a different title that we need for which project and how many hours. And of course, right click on this one. Same idea. You're going to come down here and show all the details and all the calculations and so forth, right down to utilization, availability, and build for each of my different external consultants. And then you might have subcontractor details. As I pop into this one, for example, this one's showing us, okay, we've got a vendor 1, vendor 2, vendor 3 that we're going to attach to this project. Here's some commentary, and then just a dollar figure. You can have as many or as few different fields in here as you want. Again, I can flag these as being done as I walk through. Entering travel, same type of thing. You can get as much or as little detail as you want. This is a supporting schedule, if you will, that's going to go ahead and populate the travel. So I can specify it by, is it staff, is it consultants, a description in there, what's the zip code or the location, how many folks are going to be here, is it a local trip, non-local trip, and you can have different assumptions out there. It's going to go ahead and calculate all the costs based on how many days and how many folks are going. So these are just some of the different things: material expense, adjustments, and you saw the adjustment screen before. I can also come in here and view my variances, my budget 1 against my budget 2, but this is just essentially an example as to how you can populate information very quickly and very easily. If I go to submit for review, I've got a very few that I can go ahead and submit, but I'm looking at my advanced technology 1. I could say hired a new consultant, added travel. Everything here is going to be auditable, but this is kind of like the Cliff Notes example of it. And I can go ahead and submit that. Now, upon a submission, that's going to change us to submitted for review, and we can go ahead and take a look at the whole workflow, because this kicks off a workflow alert, if you will. But this cost center or this project is now done. I can go ahead and submit that. And this user is essentially complete. Now, what you also have the ability to do here, on top of your scenario analysis and throwing in all the specific components across any project, you can also report on this information. There's numerous types of reports that you can build. But as I come across here, I'm going to go into what we call Office Connect. And within Office Connect, you have the ability to pull information live and dynamic from the solution into the Microsoft Office suite. And I'll show off the Excel component for you. So I've got some revenues here from Big Project Corp and some expenses. And when you take a look at the linked cells here, what this essentially does, anything in green says these are labels coming in. Anything that's not in green, or in blue rather, are actually values coming in. So this report was built by highlighting this range and dragging in actuals, and highlighting this range and bringing in these time periods. This range bringing in these different projects. And whoever did this did payroll, but they didn't do the following for. So what I'd like to do is just quickly show you how this works. If I go into my GL accounts, we'd like to bring in taxes down through other expenses, which happen to be under operating expenses. I could have also sorted this as well, searched. But I'm going to go ahead and highlight these, drag and drop. That turns blue. So essentially, all I have to do now is hit refresh. And upon a refresh, what's going to happen is everything updates. You do not need to show the linked cells, but what a great way to audit a spreadsheet. So that's how you can go ahead and maintain these things and update these and get the pixel perfect types of reports. Now, I might have 50 tabs out here. That's going to go ahead and give you the ability, if you will, to show as much or as little information as you want. But if I've got those 50 tabs and another time period is come and gone, like we already loaded up April information for 2021, we don't have it on these reports. Wouldn't it be nice to say, let's just go ahead and update this. Instead of March, now let's look at April, May, June, whatever time period that you want. And when I choose OK and refresh it, what I'm expecting to see now is March will go to April, going back 6 months, here's April, and every single one of these is going to update. You're looking at April here, you're charting now on April information, you got a P&L, a balance sheet, a cash flow, year-over-year compare, also keyed on April. These are the types of functionalities that you have. So make one specific change, have everything update. You're not sitting here updating spreadsheets in any way, shape, or form. But it's not just Excel, it's the whole Microsoft Office suite. And what we give you the ability to do here within the suite is to use PowerPoint maybe for board reports or management reports. Again, we're looking at a board report here, looking at March. Here's a nice agenda. Here's a graphic, if you will, looking at March, and here's a P&L, looking at March periodic, March year to date. You know that we update our time period, so wouldn't it be nice to simply refresh this and have this automatically update with April, April, and April. So you've seen in this demonstration the ability to model any project. It's available for everyone, and it links to the corporate plan. Changes can be made extremely easily, and any changes that you make, you can model immediately and also see different variances on anything and everything at any time. I want to thank you for your time.